Okay. There you go. Okay, so in spite of a few little glitches, we are on ready to roll. So, hey folks, good afternoon. Another session of the book club. And this time, Sanjay Saxena has chosen a book called The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong. And the Ocean Vuong, of course, the first question that entered my mind, how come he was named Ocean, for God's sake? I'm sure Sanjay will tell you all about that, how that came to be. Now, this is a writer who has been recognized as an excellent writer, very emotional, very, okay, let me not say, but very, very emotion-packed books he has been writing. His debut novel created quite a stir. And I think that's marvelous if a new writer can make an impact with the very first novel. And he has done that. So isn't that fabulous? Welcome, Sanjay, from Delhi, from NCR. Is it Gurgaon to be specific, Sanjay?
It is
Where are you
Gurgaon,
based?
yes.
Is it Gurgaon? It's Gurgaon, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, most of us are in Pune, but Kaveri is in Calcutta and so on and so forth. So here goes. Mike is yours, Sanjay.
Right. So, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the show this evening. Now, this is, can I have the presentation, Moini? I don't see the presentation.
Yeah.
So what we've done is that we've organized it. First, we're going to talk about the author. Then we're going to talk about the book a bit, the characters therein, and the summary. And we'll also look at how it's been received and the reviews, the kind of reviews it's got. So that's how the presentation is structured.
Can you see it now? Can you see the presentation?
No, I can't actually.
Okay. All right. Then Sanjay, you have it open on your computer?
Yeah, I do. One second. I do have it open on my computer. Yes. Can you hear me?
All right. Then, do you have a share screen button?
I don't know whether no, I don't see it. I'm in this PowerPoint mode, and I don't see a share presentation. Share. No, I don't see a share presentation thing.
Hey, technologically savvy people out there, tell me what I should be doing. Something has changed. Things I used to do, the buttons kind of different now. Oh dear. Ooh, presentation. Help.
There is a share button popping up for me, but when I try to share, it says sharing is disabled. So maybe that is why Sanjay can't.
Let me sing because
Please.
Screen I've got. No, come here, Mo.
Oof.
Share camera.
Only host can share, is what
come here, Mo. What do I touch? Block out.
Share screen.
There.
That is ouch. The share usually comes here. More button. The more button. Okay, try that. Share screen. But you don't have it. You don't. Sanjay, I think you have to do. I'm sorry. Can you look down at the bottom? There is a strip. It says mute, stop video, participants, chat, reactions, and share. Can you share? Can you share? At the bottom.
Yeah, it says share, yes.
Just click that. Anything happen?
It says hold control to select multiple windows. I don't even know what it means.
Oh God, we are screwed today.
Let's start then.
Host tools, caption line.
Okay, can you see anything?
Yeah.
Okay,
3
good.
cheers. There it is. Okay.
Hi, Paya,
Okay.
you got it correctly.
Perseverance page.
Oh,
So, Sanjay, I'm sorry, I wanted to help you and all that, but I mean, it hasn't happened.
Can you?
But it's the simplest thing in life, okay?
No
Just
more
go
moving.
on.
so now I have to push the slides. Is that how it works?
More. Oh, he has to push some buttons.
It's just, I think there's a, now, like you always do to go page down, that's the same thing you have to use. I'm
Okay.
going to my computer now.
Okay. So let's start again, right? So as I said, first we're going to talk about the author, then about the book, and then about the kind of reviews it's received. So the title is The Emperor of Gladness, and the title itself is interesting. We'll take a look at the meaning, where this title comes from. Now, about the author, can you see the slide more? This
Yes,
author,
I can see.
Yeah, very good.
Author Ocean Vuong.
Yeah, that's right. So we're looking at somebody who's very young, 37 years old, and he's
God, what happened to
teaches
the
modern
sound?
poetry in New York, of Vietnamese origin. And you mentioned the name Ocean. Why the name Ocean? Well, his original name was Hai, Hai, which in Vietnamese language means ocean. So if you're a Vietnamese immigrant in America, you might be better off with a name like Ocean rather than Hai, because Hi is generally, it's treated as a form of greeting. What's your name? Hi. That doesn't mean much to an American. Okay. So he was born in Saigon, and he comes from a family that does not have much literacy to speak of. He came to the US as a 2-year-old. His grandfather was with the United States Navy, and he migrated with his mother, grandmother, and aunt. And it's probably his father left the family very early, and so he's been brought up by these women in a town called Hartford in Connecticut. Now, Now we're looking at illiterate women with a rice farming background, an immigrant, and at the age of 37, he's a professor of modern poetry at New York University. That says something about the man. He must be having some talent of some kind. Yes, quite impressive actually.
Sanjay, your voice is breaking up a lot. Sanjay,
Yes.
your voice tends to break up. Now, I don't know why, but just try to be close to the mic. That's all.
Come close to the mic.
Oh.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
Go on.
Is this better? Does this help?
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about the author Ocean Vuong.
Yes.
He was brought up by his mother, who was a great believer in education, and she would leave him at the library and ask him to read whatever he wanted to, while she worked in her nail salon as a manicurist. And Ocean Vuong quite enjoyed reading and would spend hours in the library. And growing up was difficult, and he lost his friend to a drug overdose at 16, and an uncle who committed suicide when he was only 28. And Ocean Vuong too struggled with the drug addiction in his youth. In fact, addiction is a major theme in this book, and it's a central problem in contemporary America. So Ocean Vuong came out as a gay person in his teens, and growing up life was hard. Money was short. He worked illegally on a tobacco farm, and also signed up for working in a slaughterhouse where he didn't last very long because he couldn't stand the bloodshed. Am I audible? Is the voice still an issue?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Sanjay, it's
Okay,
fine.
great.
Go on.
Oh, great. So Vuong worked at Boston Market and Panera Bread. These are fast food chains in the US. And he came to look upon his colleagues as what he calls a circumstantial family. And I quote, the intimacy that comes with the circumstantial coming together of people in the workplace. So this is another major theme in this book, that
Hmm.
the bonds that develop between co-workers. And I think it's now in India, it's hard to imagine that anything can possibly take the place of your family. But in the United States, where the family system is kind of breaking down, you do look for support to your co-workers. Now, how effective a substitute it is for a family, I don't know. Sorry. So, so while he was growing up, Ocean Vuong enrolled for a marketing course in New York, but realized it wasn't quite for him. And he instead studied 19th century English literature, and then did a master's in fine art from City University in New York. He's mainly a poet. He's gained recognition as a poet and has written for New York Times and the New Yorker. His first novel was On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous, which was very well received. And The Emperor of Gladness is his second novel. Okay, now, now the book was published in May this year, so it's relatively new, and it was generally well received. It's autobiographical as it draws upon Vuong's experiences, and he uses flashback and reminiscence to reveal the story. So the narrative keeps moving back and forth. And the story is based in the fictitious town of East Gladness in Connecticut around 2009, 2010 timeline. That's where the story is set. The prose is lyrical and the book is beautifully written. And it succeeds in giving you a very good idea of the world of working class people and small town America. I think most of us have traveled, I think, in the US and would would have some experience of actually seeing the small towns in the US. Yeah. So this is basically a story of people who are on the margin of American society. And in an interview, he says, uh, these are people whose stories never get told, ordinary folks doing ordinary jobs, trying to keep their heads above water. It's also a story about urban decay of all that is rotting in the smaller towns, of people who stayed on and did not move to big cities. Whatever is in inverted commas is actually I've taken from interviews done by Ocean in the course of promoting this book. It's a story about basic decency and kindness that exists amongst this what he calls a circumstantial family amongst the co-workers. And for most of the characters in the book, there is no happy ending. There is no reversal of fate. He is far more realistic. Normally, we expect some kind of a change of fortune in the sense that the rich, uh, that the boy gets the girl or the murderer is caught, or that's how most stories end. There is a change of fortune, but Ocean Vuong feels that it is more realistic that things continue the way they are and there's no significant change with the passage of time. And he says how his mentions in the Oprah Winfrey interview how his aunt worked for 30 years with FedEx without much improvement in the financial condition. So that's about the book. And now we come to characters, and there are quite a few of them. And because this is a story structured around the lives of the co-workers at a diner. So there are about 6 or 7 characters that he has introduced. So the narrator is Hai. Now, Hai is also called Labas, and we'll see why he's called Labas. It's a 19-year-old Vietnamese immigrant, son of a nail salon worker, grappling with life's failures and contemplating suicide. That is the autobiographical part. His best friend has committed suicide at 14. He grew up in a house comprising his grandmother and aunt Kim. There's just whatever happened to him in real life, he's reproducing here basically. So Hai is an addict. He has spent time in a rehab center, enrolled in at a college in New York, and dropped out just as Ocean Vuong did. He discovered he's gay at the age of 12. So what we're looking at is minorities at multiple levels, an immigrant of Vietnamese origin, really drug addict and dropout, and this hugely disadvantaged in many ways. Then we have Grazina. Now, Grazina is a 82-year-old Lithuanian widow living by herself in a dilapidated house by the river. Okay. Now, this is basically a story of immigrants. So, of course, they're immigrants at different points of time. So she's an eccentric character and collects owl figurines, smokes. And her problem is that she suffers from dementia and on heavy medication and takes pills for all kinds of ailments. So we are told that Grazina was born in 1927. She was 12 years old when the Germans came to Lithuania in 1939. Her father, who was a village baker, fled with the family in 1944 when the Red Army was advancing on Lithuania. So these are the war years. And I think the war was a traumatic experience for her. And it is the war that features in her hallucinations. So she frequently slips into dementia. And the dementia, those spells in dementia, they're characterized by confused timelines, hallucinations, paranoia. And the recurring images in her hallucinations are of invasion, enemy soldiers, a burning house, and the flight from her village in 1944. So you have people, both Grazina and Hai have seen a lot of suffering in the course of their lives. And so they can probably, they develop a sympathy for each other on that account. Coming back to Grazina, now she has two children, Lucas and Lena. Now, Lucas is her son from the first husband, who was a soldier with the resistance. And Lena is the daughter from the second husband, Jonas, who worked with Amtrak and was fond of reading and was a bit of a poet himself. So Grazina's son Lucas is a pharmacist with Walgreens, and he lives in town with his wife Clara and his two children. And he's shown as a callous person with very little affection for his mother. And he's very keen to pack her off to an old age home so that he can sell the house that she's occupying. And Lena, we are told, is Grazina's daughter from her second husband, and she's struggling with alcohol addiction in Texas. One of the things that I found reading this book was that how abnormal a normal family is in the United States in the working classes. You don't have a husband, wife, two kids is hard to find. All broken family is the norm, and the unbroken family, united family, is the exception. I think in that respect, it's very different from our experience here. Now, coming back to Grazina, so her husband was an educated person and a poet. He's passed away, he's left a collection of classics, Shakespeare, Tolstoy, Austen, etc. Grazina herself used to work at Woolworths in her younger day, and now she lives off electronic benefits transfer. That is, the government puts some money in your account every month or every week under the SNAP scheme that the US government runs. So the story is really about the unlikely friendship that forms between Grazina and Hai, who helps her particularly who takes care of her and helps her particularly during the delusion state. Now here, actually in real life also, Ocean Vuong lived with an old widow for a couple of years. That is when and that lady was his partner's grandmother. It's he had in New York when Ocean Vuong had dropped out of his marketing course. He had no accommodation. He'd lost the university fellowship. So he moved in with her. So here again, this is also autobiographical to the extent that, like High, Ocean Vuong too spent time, lived with an elderly widow. Okay. And then the next character is Sony. Now, Sony is Hai's first cousin. He's the son of his mother's sister, Aunt Kim. And he's named after Sony Trinitron, first TV purchased by his dad. And I understand that it's not uncommon amongst the Vietnamese community to name their children after these products like Sony or Philips or what have you. Yeah. But Sony's dad abandoned the family almost even within weeks of Sony's birth. And Sony was born with an ailment which required surgery of the skull. And consequently, he has a scar that runs down his head. And that gave him, and he's called crackhead by kids when he's growing up. And children can be really cruel. And compassion is really not their strong suit. So he grows up with a bit of a complex, but he has deep knowledge of and he's fascinated by the American Civil War. That's an obsession with him. Kim. Now, Sony's mother, Aunt Kim, who's Sony's mother and Hai's Aunt Kim, she's in jail in connection with an insurance fraud perpetrated by her partner. And raising money for her bail is a constant concern for Sony. Now, Aunt Kim was a bit of an ambitious person. She moved to Florida. She wanted to have her own nail salon, etc. And she ended up with the wrong sort of a guy, and she's consequently in jail. And a certain amount of money has to be put up as a bail bond to get her released. And that is one of Sony's primary concern, how to get the money to get his mother out. So Sony finds comfort in making origami penguins. Now that is, I think, a small detail which shows that we all need stress busters, no matter how serious our concerns are. We need to do something that will keep our mind off. So he goes into origami penguins. I think that's the significance. And Sony believes that his father played an important role in the South Vietnamese army, but actually, we learned that he was a janitor on a military base. And again, the importance of illusion. If you're really down and out and life is hard, then you need to have some illusions to help you get through. I, uh, I think it's almost a necessity. Okay, the other character we have is BJ, Big G. Now, she is the manager at Home Market. She's from the Caribbean island of Martinique. Martinique is a French-speaking island in the Caribbeans, and most of the population there is Afro-American. So, although it's not stated in so many words, but she is probably Afro-American. She's 6 feet 3 inches, 37 years old, and sincere in at her work and is innovative, has developed some new recipes which are popular. She's kind, that she knows that employees are taking cookies from the diner, but she chooses to disregard it. And her ambition is making it big in amateur wrestling of the WWE kind, right? So she really works hard at it, and she wants to get into competitive wrestling. She believes that's where her future lies. Okay. So we've seen Sony, we've seen BJ, and then we have Maureen. These are all people who are working in the diner. So Maureen's in her 60s and she has a very cynical view of the world. She's lost her son to leukemia, and it's 10 years, but she's still paying his medical bills. She a divorcee, and with bad knees. There's a lump in her breast that's a source of worry. Is given to alcoholism, likes her drink, and she's a conspiracy theorist who believes that Earth is hollow and is controlled by reptilians living underground. Okay, so now that's one thing that I really liked about the book, is that it talks about the kind of people you don't really meet, because they come from the sections of society with which we, at least I speaking for myself, don't get very many opportunities to interact, you know. And you realize how difficult life is for the not so well off in the US, shall we say. Then we have Wayne and Russia. These are two characters. Again, they're working at the diner. Wayne's an Afro-American and he's in charge of the kitchen. And he's divorced and cannot access his 16-year-old son. Russia is 18 years old, born in Tajikistan. He's a Tajik, but they call him Russia. He came to the US after the fall of the Soviet Union, looks like Gollum of Lord of the Rings, works a graveyard shift at FedEx, and he has to support his sister in rehab. Mother's passed away, father's not on the horizon, and lives with his grandmother. Fathers uniformly are absent. This is a defining feature of the US working classes. Nobody seems to have a father to provide them. So these are the characters. Then Aunt Kim, of course, we've already seen. She's in prison for insurance fraud, and she's not on speaking terms with her sister, his mother, because her sister was upset that she chose to go to Florida instead of staying with her and helping her out in her salon. She's very disappointed Sony's lack of success, and she says, "You are my second chance," and that in so many ways describes the Asian philosophy. This is how we are. You know, we like to live our dreams through our children. So she believes in putting up appearances, does not want her sister to know that she's in prison, and she wants her to think that she's doing well in Florida. And she tells Hi when he visits her that please tell your mother that I have a big car and I'm all right in Florida. So that's the kind of impression she wants to give. So that's so much for the characters, and now we come to a brief summary of what happens. The story opens with Hayes in the act of committing suicide by jumping off a bridge. And Grazina, the widow living under the bridge by the river, calls out to him, and he stops him from taking the final plunge. And he begins living with Grazina and becomes a caregiver for her, managing her medication and helping her through her episodes, which generally feature invasion, enemy soldiers, etc. So this is how the story opens, huh? And during the hallucinatory episodes, High and Grazina engage in mock gunfights, Nazis, Red Army soldiers. There's a lot of pretending that goes on. And we learn that prior to attempting suicide, High was in a rehab center, and where he had enrolled after leaving home. And he told his mother that I'm going to Boston because I've obtained admission in a medical school. So his mother's under the impression that my child's finally come good and he's going to become a doctor. But actually, he doesn't go anywhere near Boston. He enrolls in a state-sponsored rehab center. So now the rule is that you can stay in that rehab center only for 3 weeks, and when the 3 weeks treatment is over, he's depressed and doesn't know what to do with himself. He doesn't want to go back to his mother because he remembers how upset she was when he chucked up the marketing program in New York and come back, and she was really mad with him. So he's afraid to go through that scene again, and he feels his mother will be shattered. So he doesn't want to go home. And it's in this depressed state of mind that he decides to commit suicide and goes to the bridge where Grazina sees him and prevents him from jumping off. Okay, now we know that Grazina has been getting state support through the electronic benefit transfer through the EBT, but that proves insufficient. And High takes a job at the local franchise of a food chain, the Home Market, where his cousin Sony is already employed. So he adjusts to his working environment quickly and gets along very well with his colleagues. He has no problems building positive relationships with them. So a bond develops between the workers at the home market, and this is the circumstantial family that Ocean Vuong talks about, this camaraderie and concern, and this is reflected in the events that follow. So what is important is that they accept each other as they are. There is no judging. of individuals. And the rest of the novel comprises of events that unfold over the next few months. And what comes through is the affection between Grazina and Hyde, and the support and comfort provided to each other by the team at the diner. So one of the more important of these events is the visit to a slaughterhouse. So Wayne, who's working in the diner, tells them that they can make $500 for a day's work by helping out at a meat packing facility. So Maureen, Russia, and Hai take up the offer and join Wayne. But when they land up there, they find that the meat packing facility is actually a slaughterhouse where hogs are to be butchered. So they find themselves in a long rectangular hall with pens holding hogs on either side, and there's a powerful stench of blood and urine. It's all very gross. And this very detailed description of how the hogs are taken out and slaughtered. So it's all very gory, but extremely well written. It's extremely well written. That's the most gripping part of the story I found. Of course, the promised money is never paid, but Vince gives them $50 each from his pocket as he's feeling bad about the whole thing, right? So again, the camaraderie between the workers, they're not upset that they didn't get the promised $500. They don't make a scene about it. And Wayne also feels that he needs to do something for them, so he just gives them $50 each from his pocket.
Let
Yeah.
me get the
Yeah.
volume.
So another notable event is the Christmas Eve
Full
dinner,
volume.
Where Grazina is invited for dinner by her son Lucas. We know that Lucas is staying in the town with his wife and two children. So Hai accompanies Grazina as the nurse, and Grazina prepares a dish of stuffed peppers to take with her. And we learn that Lucas' two teenage children are seeing their grandmother after 5 years, and they make no secret of their dislike for her. This again is unusual for, like, I see my grandson at least twice every week, and now when you're told that grandchildren are seeing their grandmother after 5 years, it's a little hard for us to accept that. Now, so Clara, that is Luca's wife and Grazina's daughter-in-law, she's a cold and unsympathetic person. And basically, they do both want to send Grazina to an old age facility so that they can sell her house and get some money out of it. So Grazina feels sad, and this is one thing about her character. Grazina, she does not wallow in self-pity. She takes life head on. The only occasion when she feels sad is after this dinner misadventure at her son's. So, so they're barely polite, and the children make no effort to conceal their contempt for Grazina. And the dish that she had brought with her goes back untouched. And the contrast that's being painted between the natural family and the circumstantial family is obvious. And I think maybe this is a little overdone. Perhaps it's too black and white. Maybe there should be shades of gray somewhere. Yeah. Then we have the episode of BJ entering a wrestling contest for which she had done a lot of preparation. And she was told that there's going to be a talent scout from WWE who's going to be present at the bar where this event is being hosted. So the home market team and her parents are present in the bar when the competitions begins, and her performance is a complete disaster, and she gets thoroughly booed by the audience. And then subsequently, they discover that the competition was a con. The winner was pre-decided, a local businessman's son, and the entry fee of $300 that BJ had paid was just money down the drain. So basically, what Vuong is telling us is how the system is rigged against the ordinary folks. Yeah. And so Sony wants to bail his mother out of jail, but does not have the money. But they do keep visiting her. Sony and Hai, they visit Aunt Kim in the jail, And it is from her that Hai learns that Soni's father died in a car accident some time ago, and that the letters he had been getting from his father are actually written by her, you know. So now, coming back, Soni's father had walked out within a few months of Soni's birth, but he continued to idolize him. And Aunt Kim kept writing letters to her son, pretending that they were from his father. And then there's one Mr. Vogel who lands up one day at the diner, and he's from the head office, and he's unhappy about the way the franchise is being run, and he's worried about a McDonald's opening in the neighborhood, and he says we need to sack somebody, and he tells BJ that by acting angry is making it easier for her to sack an employee because that is what the management wants. So that's going on at one level, and then we have now ultimately it's Sony who gets sacked, and he has to go. His colleagues offer to chip in to share their shift with him, but that doesn't quite work out, and he has to go. Meanwhile, one day Hyde returns from work to find the house completely dark and no sign of Grazina. He's very worried, looks everywhere, doesn't find her, and calls Lucas, her son, who's very angry because he's under the impression that Hai is a full-time nurse looking after his mother, which isn't quite the case because he's very upset, and Hai learns from Lucas that Grazina had a fall that morning and has been hospitalized. She comes back in a couple of days, and Lucas arrives with social service counselor to take her to an elderly facility, but she refuses to go, turns violent, throwing things at Lucas and the counselor, who are forced to leave. So this is again, I mean, it's a situation where the helplessness Grazina feels, she wants to live her life her way, but there are forces stronger than her which are compelling her to make decisions she's not comfortable with. So we know that BJ is compelled to sack Sony, and Russia and Wayne rally around offering to give up part of their work so that Sony's job can be saved. But that doesn't quite work out. He has to go. And Hai consoles Sony by telling him he does not need to prove anything to anybody, and that by being ordinary is okay. This is one of the major themes of the book. And again, I quote here, most people are scared. You talk to anybody for more than half an hour and you realize everything they do is a sham to keep themselves from falling apart. That's a quote I've taken from the book. So Grazina has served notice from the family services department and she has to move to an old age home. And Hai and Grazina both reconcile to the inevitable. And one day Lucas comes with the social service personnel and takes Grazina. But before going, she tells Hai that there's some money hidden in a tin in the kitchen. And the book ends with Hai lying on garbage bags in a dumpster. So this is what you're worth in a capitalist system. That is your place. And this is where the story ends. Okay. Now the title is is taken from a line in Hamlet, and where the line is, "Your worm is your only emperor. We fat all creatures else to fat us, and we fat ourselves from maggots." Okay. Now there's a cynical statement about death, suggesting that we will all eventually become food for worms and maggots. It's really a comment on capitalism where the workers exist only to be consumed by the exploitative economic system. That's the economic system is the maggot here. Right. So, hence the title, The Emperor of Gladness. High he has been created just to be consumed. That is his fate. The fate of the working classes, actually. Now, the reviews have been largely positive. Goodreads has called it an achingly beautiful novel. And The Guardian calls it a rich sense of lived experience. And I'm quoting from the book reviews that I read. Chicago Review of Books, an irreplaceable commentary on American life. Christian Science Monitor. For Vuong, fiction is a moral instrument. He plays it with the practiced hand of a virtuoso. And everybody writes about the lyrical prose. Introducing the town of East Gladness, Vuong writes, we are the blur in the windows of your trains and minivans, your greyhounds, our faces mangled by wind and speed, like castaway Munch paintings. So it is very, very graphic, very poetic, which is not surprising as he is basically a poet. That's when he first hit the headlines. Now about the criticisms, and there are a few. The first and foremost is that the plot is weak. We are told Hai's mother never discovers the deception. Her sons told her that he's gone to Boston, but he's working in the diner, and a diner in a small town, and she never discovers that he's around. Then the idea that all your colleagues are nice and kind to you all the time is not very realistic. We know that there are colleagues who are kind and generous, and there are those who are not. And sometimes you have to deal with hostility at the workplace. This is how the real world is. Then one criticism is that there's far too much embellishment. The prose is so densely packed with embellishment that it allows little room to breathe. Now, this is in the front line. Manjula Vijay Kumar had done this review, and she also makes the same point that there's too much embellishment and too little plot. Descriptions are overworked. There's another criticism. Just one of Grazina's episodes of dementia-induced delusion lasts all of 9 pages. So there's a scope for editing, the critics feel. Okay. Then there are far too many themes packed into the story: urban decay, addiction, family, immigration, history, laws, poverty, shun sha. Lots of things going on. And they can't all be managed effectively. And then there are some very strange, convoluted similes that don't make sense and feel weird. So you have things like seeds from a bird feeder fall like applause. Fall like applause? I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me. Infinite dark of sightless visions. What the hell is meant by sightless visions? You know? Water churns like chemically softened granite. That is a most unusual expression. A man has a laugh that could probably vanquish depression in an elephant. You know, these similes are strange. A scream is like someone falling through air without ever touching the ground. So this is one complaint. And finally, there is this gentleman called Tom Crew, writing in the London Review of Books. He writes, I groaned my way through Emperor of Gladness. I felt despair every time I forced myself to open the covers. It was one of the worst ordeals of my reading life. Now, we know, don't we, that when critics decide to be nasty, they don't know where to stop, right? But this is where I will stop. And I hope I managed to give you some idea of the book. Yes? Over to you, Moini.
Okay. I actually missed the last bit of what you said because, obviously my internet connection is unstable as my screen keeps telling me. So, but never mind, it's all there. So, my first question, Sanjay, I was just wondering, how many pages long is the book? Are there too many characters being dealt with? Are there?
I suppose there are too many characters. I take your point. There are too many characters. And so it's not as sharply focused as it could be. I accept that. The book is about 400 and some pages. I have it here. Yes, 402 pages to be exact. So it is a long story, and part of it is repetitive. And like they said, the descriptions are long, and it can do with a certain amount of editing, there's no doubt. But It's a different kind of book. It's very lyrical. Now, if you care for that, and I personally do, you would like the book. But if you're not so much into atmospherics and descriptions, and you'd want the story to move on at a reasonable pace, then it might disappoint you. It may not be your cup of tea. But net, at the end of the day, I like the book and I would recommend it. I accept all the criticism. The criticisms are valid and I can see where they're coming from, right? But in spite of that, it's like in accounting when you do a bottom line, the assets and the liabilities, and you come up with a number. For me, that number is positive. Yeah. But and also it what it does very well, what I really liked was that it transports you to that place, to puts you among those people. Sorry, my asthma. And it gives you a chance to look at a world with which you're not very familiar. I think that's what I like most about it. Oh.
From the book, I gathered that the point is that poverty in a developed country hits you worse than it hits you in a poorer country, because in a poorer country you have a family to back you. Is
Yeah,
that
very true. Very true.
okay?
It's not just like my sister who's been living in America, and she works for the university and she handles scholarships for underprivileged people. And she tells me that the central problem, the huge problem there is the non-existence of the family. So you have a situation where the father has abandoned the family, the stepfather is in jail, mother's doing two shifts, she's probably not this thing, the brothers, the student herself is into drug running, addiction. I mean, just a normal family, husband, wife, children, is hard to find in some communities in the US. That's what I'm told. And these are the kind of people that Ocean Vuong's book is talking about. It is
I
it's scary at one level. Yeah.
I watched this interview. It's of a gentleman called Theodore Dalrymple, and he was a psychologist and a doctor with a he's basically a Britisher, and he was a psychologist and a doctor in a prison. So he came up with this sort of analysis between being poor in a poor country and being poor in a rich country, how different it is basically. So basically in poorer countries, the people they are working towards something, they are wanting to give a better life to their kids, or they are they're upwardly mobile. But in a richer country, you're marginalized, you're uh, sort of unseen, and because you're such an anomaly in that system, that you fall off the radar very quickly. So I think this book sort of helped me understand that perspective of his, and I would share that interview. I think we must all watch. It's a very, very insightful analysis. So thank you, and it was a lovely presentation. Thank you so much.
No, I
Mr.
think
Mr.
one difference
Saxena,
between.
wonderful presentation. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
made,
very comprehensive, and
normally we would not like, you made us sort of really interested in it.
Thanks, Uma. Thanks very much.
And the realism that life never, has a fairy tale ending. It just goes on. That was a very striking observation. Thank you again.
Yeah, yeah. That's. But what really surprised me is, and I don't know, I'd like to know your views on this, Moini. Why are the reviews so different in America and England? The US reviews are by and large positive, and it's a beautiful book and lyrical and shung shang. And the review in the Financial Times of London, which I haven't included in this, by the way, and that London Journal of Books, the last slide that I showed, you know, they find that this book is terrible. There's such a stark contrast between how the book is perceived in the US and the UK.
I know.
I
That
found
happens. Like, I think it was A Suitable Boy by Vikram Seth, which the Americans did not care for, and the Brits took to, they just loved it. So it is surprising, absolutely. Can't
But
even.
I do understand that. I personally really struggled to go through the book. I think he's a brilliant writer, he's a brilliant poet, but the lyrical writing, it just gave me a headache at one point. I'm like, get to the point. I understand the tree is green. I don't need 1,000 words for you to describe the greenness of the tree. So beyond a point, the poetic lyricism is, I mean, you're writing a novel, focus was the thing I started feeling at some point. And I think the reason the Americans like it so much, because if you see the recent writers who are doing really well in the US, there seems to be like a formula. So it is second generation immigrant, somewhere on the LGBTQIA spectrum,
Absolutely.
some amount of neurodivergency. And then if you are something like a vegan, which Ocean Vuong is, you've hit the nail on the head and you're a success. Because when I started reading the part about the slaughterhouse, I'm like, this child is vegan. I can just, there's a way vegans approach things. With due apologies, meaning no offense to anybody who may be vegan or whatever, but there is a certain, I don't know, there's a way. And when I started reading that chapter, I'm like, this guy has to be a vegan. I waited till I finished that chapter, went to Google, and yes, he's a vegan. So yeah, it seems like there's a formula which he just falls right into it. And the fact that he's a great writer, he is. I think he needs a little bit of a great editor. This book could have been cut short by like 200 pages.
Oh my God.
According to me, because like you also mentioned, Grazina's delusions. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And I understand. I mean, everyone, I think, can understand that that is how dementia works, and it's going to come. These episodes are going to repeat. But when you go into such graphic details about it and the story, it's not really helping the story or the character. It didn't work for me.
No, I take your point. I mean, like I said, the criticisms are correct. I can see where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And the embellishment can be excessive, there's no doubt about it. But I think what worked for me, this is where I differ from you, is that it gives you a peek into a world with which you're not familiar. The working classes, the marginalized people in America, their lives.
Yeah, so I preferred...
That is new to me. I mean, that you may be familiar with it.
On similar lines, there is a book called Demon Copperhead. Which is
yes.
working class, poor of the, and on their children. It's about children. That I preferred, and it was, I mean, it's a little sad to say that it was also very entertaining because it engaged. The story was very engaging. Whereas this was droll. I mean, it was just, I don't know, it didn't work for me.
Yashodhara, what you're saying about... If you read novels about 50, which were published 50 years back, there was the way they talked about themselves, etc., was very, very low level in the sense of finding it difficult, living is not easy, etc. Around those novels which came in the late 40s and early 50s. And what they are coming today are very, very different. That's what I was all trying to say. Moini will be able to present it better than what I'm saying. But I felt it that.
No, there is such a thing as a mood of the times.
Yeah.
It's like Hindi cinema in the 50s. I mean, that kind of socialism and the pathos of the poor and all that. That is there. And when you say the guy needs an editor, I mean, how did his publishers allow this to be published in this state? If, as you say, half of it could have been done away with in sheer volume, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, at least 100 pages could have been knocked off, according to me. If not 200. 200 may have been an exaggeration, but 100 definitely.
Well, that's still a lot. That's still a lot.
Yeah, it's still a lot.
And you know, when you find out things about, like a novel like To Kill a Mockingbird, how much the editor has contributed. Oh my God!
I was going to bring the same thing. This To Kill a Mockingbird. That
the first draft.
She, the editor, I think really
Brilliant.
deserved as the best because if you see the writing of the earlier writings,
that goes that a Watchman is the first.
The Trap.
Not
And
only Trap, but
and I believe it was something like a dozen times she threw it away out of the window and things like that. So you need a good editor.
Very, very important.
That's true.
But having made such a huge success with his first novel, I'm so surprised. Hey, have you read his first novel? Anyone here? Have you
couldn't
read
go
that?
through it.
No,
I couldn't go through it. One of the very few novels which I just put away.
Oh, I see. My God.
No.
Because of the exaggerated pathos?
I found it extremely self-indulgent. Again, the same themes I felt of second generation immigration, the weight that comes with it. And I'm not at all trying to diminish the real struggles that come with being an immigrant and all of that. But like Hugh was saying, right, in the 40s and 50s or earlier, even one generation earlier, the approach to such things was very practical, very solid. This feels very much in the head, very self-indulgent, going round and round, and kind of staying comfortable in the problem, not looking for a solution. So I think after about 50 pages, I just couldn't take that book.
No, Yashwanta, the point he's making is that there are no solutions. The capitalist system works in such a way.
I completely agree. So while there were, I think Emperor of Gladness was much better, and he did make some brilliant points about the absolute glaring holes in the whole fabric of the American society, and adding to the point somebody else made earlier, he's not only poor, here the immigrant status matters, because they're if you have to see it as a hierarchy, then they're even lower than the poor Americans. So you don't even have the thing of being American, like, natively, I mean, whatever. Now that again is a controversial, there's nothing, who's Native American. But at least an American citizen, you're like an immigrant American. That means you even lower.
I take your point, but probably what makes poverty far more difficult in US is the fact that it is invariably accompanied with addiction. Unlike the poor in India, the poor in America are just ruined by drugs.
Well, I don't completely agree with it. I don't completely agree with it. We have, I think, the poor in our country are also solidly addicted, but there are certain addictions which are subtler, like they'll have the pan masala or the I don't know, the tobacco-based things, which I had painting going on in my house, and the painters were constantly chewing that. They didn't take breaks certain days for tea or lunch or anything. They just kept working, and I was like, what are you guys doing? Why aren't you taking breaks? But they were just very happy, and I realized that they're constantly chewing on this. They didn't need the break. So I would not agree that addiction is not there in countries like ours. It is simply, I think, our culture and the fact that they have responsibilities, they have families, they can't afford to let go. Most of them manage not to let go.
Can I add something to that?
Stronger. That means they're stronger.
Can I add something more to that? Is that when you look at the economically weaker side of the society, what they get to eat, what energy levels, their energy levels have to be high, and this doesn't work. So that's where the little bit of this and a little bit of that. Go down to a panwala, and if he knows you, if you go like this, they won't just give you pan. But you go down to a panwala and look a little shabby and all that. For 5 rupees or 10 rupees, you'll be able to get whatever drugs you want
Yeah,
very cheaply.
yeah.
Perhaps.
And it is so, we talk about drugging there. We have quiet drugging around. We keep it quiet.
Yeah,
Yes.
opium, afim was considered hardly
Normal.
Acceptable.
nothing,
Yeah.
nothing worth mentioning.
Especially in the labor class, I remember my mother used to tell me that the laborers would drug the kids and go to work.
Yeah.
But do you know they needed it? Hold it. They
Yes.
needed it. It's to keep them going. You needed that. खाना इतना ही मिलता है और तुम्हें लगता है कि वो पेट भरेगा नहीं. They needed it.
Actually, poverty is tough across the world. It's not just, we can't say it's any easier here
Yeah,
because
you can't compare.
we are insulated in many ways. We are reading about the novel. Nobody probably writes about the poverty and how it hits our people. So I think,
No, when we try to talk about Apo, etc., they said, oh, don't talk about that because you're giving a bad impression. Try and understand that this is, we in India have been हाथ पे ऐसा ऐसा करके तुम्हारे सामने पे वो कर रहा है, वो क्या कर रहा है देखो ना, कभी खा के देखा है वो क्या.
There's that play by Mahesh Tattani, Dance Like a Man.
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
So in that, this girl Ratna goes off and gives these dance performances. And she has a child, so of course as a mother, she is responsible for the child and to keep the child quiet so that her husband and the family doesn't object. She gives him a little afim.
Yeah.
Now the nanny who comes in to actually be with the child, one day has the same thought. And she's so old and very tired, I want to sleep. Give this child a little bit of opium. The kid gets a double dose. But he dies. So it's awfully sad. But it is so common. It is so common to do that.
You would like to see, go and start working with the people constructing the buildings, etc. They afternoon will do this, this, and you'll know that what it is. And it is not just tobacco.
The watchman who has to
No, I've worked in the Yarwada slums, and we had a child who would just not be alert throughout whatever sessions we'd be doing. And a lot of investigation later, we found out that his parents were running this, it was like a manufacturing unit for alcohol. And this child was constantly exposed to these fumes. So they were making this cheap quality local alcohol, which would be distributed, sold within the basti. And even the parents were not aware how dangerous it was. And this child, because of these fumes, was constantly drugged. But yeah, I mean, things like that, these are happening very close to us, but we are blissfully unaware.
I know.
So,
Yes.
Sanjay,
Yeah.
I haven't read the book, of course, but I thought that in some ways it seemed very bleak, and you had a with great empathy, you have brought out the the hopelessness and the fractured social. I think is the difference between their society and ours. The fractured family and social structure over there, and how in the midst of all that there is a connection between this young boy and the old lady. But it must have been a very difficult book to read. You have presented it very well.
Yeah.
But it must have been tough for you to go through it, because in some ways it is so hopeless, isn't it? What does it end as? In the end, is there some glimmer?
It ends with in the last scene. It's the last pages. This Hai is lying on a bunch of garbage bags in a dumpster near the diner.
That was the end, was it?
Yeah. And there are regarding the ending, there are two interpretations, two very different interpretations. One is that you have to accept the messiness of life and move on. That this is how it's going to be, this is how it has been. So you just accept it, you know. And the other way of looking at it is that you're an insignificant little thing and you don't count for anything. And the garbage bags is what you are equivalent to. And the society and the production system, the economic system ensures that
they continue to be where they are. Today's economy,
absolutely,
it's adding to the number of people.
Doesn't he give? Sorry, I read it a while ago now, but doesn't he give a part of that money to get his aunt out? And
yes, he does. He does give that.
Yeah, so I remember, I mean, this was the way I felt about the book. It didn't really seem bleak to me. It focused on a lot of negative and dark things, but towards the end, the way all these family, what he calls the workplace family, they root for each other, they hold each other, they go on this little trip to help Sunny have a memorial for his father and all of those things. It kind of left you at least it left me feeling like the warmth of the human spirit that, you know, that wins over everything else that can be. So it didn't leave me feeling hopeless, honestly. I mean, as a story, somewhere he managed to harness get you feeling that people have something in them to help each other, hold each other, and that can triumph.
That's a lovely point, Yashodha. You know, I was on YouTube and I was, listening to a professor address to this problem of nihilism, basically, you know, where you think that you don't matter, what you do is of no consequence, you're of no consequence. So this gentleman goes on to say that you should think of yourself as a node in a network. Okay, so you impact so many people, and one thing you put in motion can have impact on a lot of people. So I think that agency of, making a difference, you have to know that you have it in you. So
wind it up quickly.
Okay, now another thing, it's just hardly another point as such, but doesn't it say also that feelings for each other, relationships, those things based on blood? You know, just because you're born or you're in this family or that so and so is your sibling makes no difference. It is association. Those who live together know each other, meet each other, right? Okay. Now, would anyone else like to have a say before we start winding down? Then I have something to say about the next meeting.
Anyhow, thank you, Sanjay. Very beautifully presented.
Thank you.
Wispy, Uma, Azra, would you like to say anything? Okay.
I like that.
Well, now
very well presented, Sanjay. Very well brought out.
Thank you, Azra. Thanks.
Quick question: how true is it to his own life? Because many authors draw from their own experiences. Did you find that this person, the author, experienced these situations?
There's a huge overlap. It's almost autobiographical.
Okay.
Azra, in fact, what little I read of it, it does sound autobiographical. It comes from within. When you read through it, again and again, I take it back to the 50s and the 60s. But the writing, you could see that the person who was talking had experienced it more than people like you and I.
Okay. So, Sanjay, thank you so much. This is a writer that I recently heard of, a year ago or so, and was very curious about. So thank you so much for letting me in and all of us in on what he is all about. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Next Sunday, we have that poetry session. Remember? Now that was to be today, and Sanjay's was to be on the 2nd, if you recall. So because Sanjay's presentation got postponed, so did that one. And so next Sunday, we have some of us, I hope many of us, will say what your favorite poem is, a little about why, what is so wonderful about it, and possibly recite a little of it. Okay? Now, yeah, so that's next Sunday. Sunday after that, okay, now not on the 30th of November, but on Monday, this is very unusual. Monday, 1st of December, is going to be the book club event after that poetry session. Okay, so it's going to be a hybrid session. It's going to be at Pune Club Library and online. So those of you who want to continue online can do so. And those of you who want to make the trek to the library are so welcome. Okay? Now, what's going to happen that time is that we are going to show a film recording of the play Waiting that won the Best Play Award at the Alliance Francaise Theatre Festival at Chennai. Satish's play. And Satish's play, yeah. So the actress, there are only two characters. Satish's plays usually have very few characters and hardly any props, so it's very easy to perform them. So the actress who played the role of the older woman had it filmed, and she sent us the film. So we were good. So many people asking about it because it has won the award and all that. So we're going to show it. And also, we're going to have a dramatized presentation of another of the plays, Manto and the Dhoban, by Chetan and Sunita Shetty, who are very accomplished actors. They really are. But they said they didn't have the time to learn the lines, but they will be in costume and they will read it and it will bring the thing home to you. All right? So this was going to happen on the 1st.
And just a little thing. The library that we are talking about is supposed to be 200 years old. And it, of course, burned down, etc. And once when we were trying to get it done, we tried to see how many books to really take away, because there are miles and miles of books just hanging around there.
Not catalogued or anything.
And something about 10 of us or 12 of us were
working at it, categorizing, so that the cataloging would become easier. Anyway, so that's the library in which Dimple Kapadia is sitting. Remember in Bobby and Rishi Kapoor outside some bit of mirror or something distracting her? Do you remember, Bobby, that movie? I don't see anyone recognizing it. But that was Rishi Kapoor's first movie. Dimple Kapadia's first. It was iconic. Anyway, so that is the library that we're talking about. We hope to see many of you there. Okay? Those who don't want to make the trek, please watch it at home, in the comfort of your home, on Zoom. Okay? Right. So that's it. And thank you so much, Sanjay, for taking the trouble to go through. Making a presentation is no easy job, because you have to put down all the important details and skip the unimportant. It's a job of editing, isn't it? What the editor ought to have done better. But Sanjay has done.
I loved your format, Sanjay. It was really, without delving into the story, the characters and the critique, it was lovely.
No, really but the real challenge is how to sum up a story without giving spoilers. That's the really hard part,
Yeah. But I think you did it really beautifully.
There you are,
Sanjay.
Success. You have had success. Okay? So you can feel good about yourself. All right. And so thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, all of you, for being here, for participating, for sharing your opinions, your criticisms, and all of that. And by the way, we are now ready for more volunteers. Please. I have people till, I think, February. After that, I don't. So we need...
I'm going to ask Azra, what about you? Why don't you present a book which you have been reading?
Well, I just finished reading Mother Mary Comes to Me. I'm sure you all have read it. I don't know who discussed it, but I couldn't
Do that.
I couldn't really stop reading it till I finished it. Yeah. And that is completely autobiographical and
Well, it's a
brutally,
memoir. It's not a
yeah,
novel.
and brutally honest. Brutally honest.
One hopes. You know, when I was reading it, I kept asking myself, I hope this is the truth. Because how can you really tell ever? This is what is being presented as truth.
She is what she is seen. What the is her truth. Your truth, her truth, your visible truth is always different.
That is there, but also what you choose to present us.
I've been reading it, but I'm not quite liking it as much as what I like the main first and only book.
Completely different thing.
And where's that?
Completely.
Please try and see the movie that she and.
Oh, that is so delightful. In which Annie gives it goes on.
Where's Mother?
Have any of you seen it? Have you?
Yeah.
No. Annie, what was the title?
In which
Annie
gives it. Those ones.
Gives those ones.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Beautiful, absolutely hilarious. And that is a slice of life. That is true.
That's very, very true. And I enjoyed it. I think I'll check up whether it's available on the net somewhere or the other.
Yashodhara,
Yes,
I expect a presentation from you.
I'll try.
Which one did she talk about? I thought it was Aha. I'm going to ask you to do that.
Which one?
I don't know. Which one did you talk about now during this session? What did you talk about, which you knew so well? Anyway, let me not spend time now.
Yeah.
I'll go back in the recording. You can just thump your memory a bit. It'll come back. Please do that. You're obviously doing it very well.
Let's get Azra also to.
Oh, please,
Azra,
and Payal.
say in Jan or something like that, we will have you to talk.
And Payal, something from you too, okay?
I told you that I wanted to do the glass maker.
The glass maker?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you? I forget that, huh? I don't know what the book is.
It's a lovely book. It's a lovely book. Yeah.
Then, shall I schedule you then?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What's the name you said?
The glass
The
maker.
glass maker.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. So Yashodhara, Payal has come through. Yashodhara and Azra in the pipeline. Okay.
Azra, I think we are taking you on that. It'll be in January. We'll have that.
Okay. So which one? Azra, which one?
Azra, no, but
I was going to do that. Okay,
and we'll like to try to see whether we can link up from there with them.
Okay. Bye then, everybody. Please come next Sunday.
See you guys.
Please come.
All the best.
We haven't had enough volunteers for next Sunday. Of course, it means that the 7-8 people will have enough time, to say their bit. But I would like, say, 10, another couple of people at least. Okay? Bye then. Bye all.
All the best.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Stop recording. No. But stop recording. Here, more. This one. More, huh? Stop recording. That happened.
I think about 7. It's an experience.
Oh.
Can I do it?
Yeah, do it. My computer started playing up. That's why I joined suddenly. It kept disappearing. The presentation, everything just kept disappearing.
What do I do now?
That's more, Wala. Right. More. Yeah, stop recording. Okay.
Oh, that's I think at 10. CSK have to look beyond MS Dhoni and go better.
Stop recording.
Mohammed Shami, 12 10 CR.